the very same week that your Uncle Cycling Highlights uncovers dirty plots related to Ruben Tiago Alves Pereira's Portuguese Sabgal Anicola team, the Vuelta a España starts from Lisbon. Oh, the magic of Javier Guillen, that ineffable and practically perpetual director of the Spanish race. He doesn't care about visiting countries tainted by the shadow of doping, as long as he gets some rich money from city councils and various public political entities. The fans, of course, are happy to enjoy a race without so many fireworks, and they will be delighted to know about the new signing of Jose Azevedo's FPL team, Mauricio Moreira, who, despite having been investigated and having fainted in the middle of the Volta Portugal, he has been able to continue sucking from the rather worn and somewhat fallen udder of cycling for a few more seasons at least. The vast majority of fans will be supporting one of the favourites to win this race. There's the mega idol, Joao Almeida, resident in Andorra but competing under the Portuguese flag. And then many of you are convinced that you will be closely following the developments of other favourites, such as the skier Roglic. He comes with a really big, powerful team and is fresh out of the dentist's office, like the doper Piotr Ugrumov in 1994 or Gilberto Simoni in 2001. The king of the minions, Richie Carapaz, says he will fight for the red jersey that the skier and Movistar took away from him in 2020. There's the popular Spaniard Mikel Landa, popular domestique of Focus in Evenepoel, who now goes everywhere accompanied by a dinosaur, so that he doesn't forget the presence of a monster by his side, always watching him. However, we recommend you to take a look at these hilarious cyclists that you're seeing in one of our most recent tweets. Because yes, you can now follow us already on Elon Musk's platform, where we will be commenting daily about all the news happening in the cycling world. And then we will, of course, add a daily video on this channel about each stage of the Vuelta a España. This is the package you deserve as a fan, and here it is, brought to you by your Uncle Cycling Highlights, at Uncle Cycling. Don't forget also to follow us and subscribe to this channel while you're at it. Now, with the advertising out of the way, let's analyse the stage of the day, the classic time trial that Javier Guillen loves to start a Vuelta a España with. Very short duration, 12 kilometres between Lisbon and Oeiras, so that there won't be any large differences. It's a practically flat terrain and, well, it'll finish at night time, which, believe you me, is something of a bitch for us to bring you the videos on time. But, you know, we're not on the best friendly terms with Omari Sports, so we'll just have to put up with it. The favourites to take the red jersey under normal conditions, well, it's pretty clear. The first one, a Belgian bot who comes from being an Olympic medalist in Paris and seems to be fully recovered from his crash at the Grand Prix Waregem. Wout is extremely motivated to win. That's his own words. He wants to win up to 5 different stages, an ideal Vuelta a España for his characteristics. He needs to make amends after a disappointing season, and obviously he wants to shine in the Vuelta. And he will do, if crashes or Richard Ploger's lack of spokes don't prevent it. Now, the second one to watch, a British crybaby who holds onto cars to follow the peloton at Roubaix, Josh Tarling, a brilliant cyclist in this discipline, and he will compete for the first time without the help of Dan Bigham, the very strange, eccentric engineer cyclist resident in Andorra and an expert in time trial positions, someone who broke the hour record in both men's and women's categories with his wife. But it was all of little use because he was not part of the group of cyclists controlled for anti-doping by the UCI. This engineer, who doesn't like drug testing, went off on a rant about the Sky Team, claiming that they no longer have the best marginal gains, and that since the bald Knight of the Realm is so busy looking at Manchester United, he's not looking so much at cycling. And then there's another great British talent, also resident in Andorra, and a neighbour of Tiny Tim Pidcock, Leo Hayter, the great promise that won the Giro under-23 in the team of the doper Axel Merckx, has been suffering depression at only 23 years of age for not getting the results he expected, poor lad. These mental defects that marginal gains seem to trigger in young people. This Hayter, known in Girona, depressed, and then there's Josh Tarling crying for not getting an Olympic medal. Oh dear. Now, in a second rank of possible winners today, there was the Saunier Duval, with a local idol, the gringo champion of the speciality. Oh, and there's the Australian video game cyclist too, and then there are other specialists against the clock, such as Kung and Syncrosfera Campanarts, or the always dangerous Mathias Vacek. However, the competition would be started by a 40-year-old who won a stage and was king of the mountains in the hilarious Volta Portugal just finished. A perfect homage to all the scandals we've brought you recently. On an absolutely horrendous course, a highway with a strong wind blowing, showing the beaches of the corrupt mayor of Oeiras, we quickly discovered that the riders with the most powerful physique would be the ones who would stand out on this stage. Syncrosfera Campanart set a first good time at the finish line, but he was soon overtaken by a specialist, one who had not fought for great victories for a long time, Eduardo Affini of the Rabobank team. A spectacular time of 12 minutes and 43 seconds, at an average of more than 56 kilometers per hour. Perhaps this is the first great exhibition of those horrible helmets designed by the creative genius John Ribéry. So much aerodynamic advantage over the rivals, we can see what it does. Other riders who could fight for the general classification, such as the anti-Pogacar Lipowitz, or the doped as a 15-year-old Danish rider, because we've got this far and you know there's always a Dane, Skjelmose Jensen, well, they were among the most outstanding, with times within around 15 seconds of Affini, with hardly any support in the absence of the public. Perhaps they prefer to see instead the monsters of Sabgal or Efapal, instead of the great stars of a Spanish race. Then it was the turn of the European champion, very motivated to dedicate a victory to the depressed hater. Stuck in his pedalling and coupled to his bike, he suffered a lot with the heat and the strong wind on that Portuguese beach road, and despite being better than Affini at the first intermediate point by 3 seconds, his chances, and those of all who wanted to see a young star as the first red jersey of the Vuelta, faded away, and he crossed the line 28 hundredths of a second behind Affini. A man then who was going to spend more than 2 hours in the hot seat. Everyone wondered if his teammate, the bot, could save Javier Guillen from the disaster that was looming. The local idol and hard-working Almeida was the next star candidate to win the stage, and he went out, but his performance was not up to par, losing 17 seconds to the Italian. However, the one who rode at 57 kilometers per hour, and who I already told you to look out for a day earlier on our official Twitter feed, well, that was Radio Shack's Czech team champion, Mathias Vacek. The supermarket-sponsored rider literally flew past the beaches of Oeiras, setting the fastest time at the finish line with a very, very cool 12 minutes and 37 seconds. Could anyone beat him? It would not be Stefan Kung, although he was again a top 5 finisher in a major time trial. Not even the big favourite for this Grand Tour, Primoz Roglic, could do it. The Slovenian skier was undoubtedly the most prominent of the candidates for the final victory in this first time trial, but his effort, well, it was 14 seconds inferior to that of Vacek. There were only 2 great candidates for the victory now. One of them, the Belgian bot, who went through the Paseo de la Democracia in the corrupt Oeiras at full speed, and he beat Vacek's time at the intermediate point by hundredths of a second. The second contender, well, that was the American Saunier Duval rider, McNulty, who, with his moustache, which is so fashionable among cyclists today, he went through that intermediate point 2 seconds of the time of the dangerous Czech. With all the side wind blowing, Wout van Aert was unable to beat Vacek's time and fell short by a second. But the gringo champion made good on his impressive improvement in time trials, thanks to that training with the unique South African coach and doctor, Jeroen Swart. And so he took his 4th time trial victory of the season by just 2 seconds over Vacek. A real barbarity from a rider whose form is somewhat pendulous, and from whom we can expect both the best and the worst in this race. Brandon McNuggets, the rider that Chris Horner, a fast food lover of repute, would have wished as his successor in the Vuelta, and not some Andorran named Sepp. But that's life, Chris. You can't always get what you want, honey. Now subscribe to the channel. Every day you'll get a video. You'll see our best recap of the Vuelta 2024. And while you're here, you could watch that video on the screen there. You will love it.